What if I told you that there is a murder plot going on right now, a plot to kill the dollar? Well, these are the three men that are probably going to be responsible for it. And these three, let's just call them special individuals, have become a bit hell-bent on bringing the dollar down to its knees and freeing themselves from the shackles of a dollar-denominated global economy. It's the tale of three kings, and in it will expose how Russian President Vladimir Putin, Chinese Communist Party leader Xi Jinping, and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud agree on one thing. The dollar's days of dominance are coming to an end. It must die, and if necessary, they will be the ones to kill it. All of that and more in today's video. My name is Lark. I make videos on investing. If you do like that topic, then please do subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you think that the dollar's days of global dominance and being the world reserve currency are coming to an end, then smash the like button to let us all know that you think that is the case. Now let's get into this. So, not a long time ago, in a land not so far away, a group of politicians came together and negotiated a very interesting deal. And with that deal, the U.S.-Saudi Arabian Joint Commission on Economic Cooperation was created. Through this agreement, along with the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, the USA and Saudi Arabia's government decided that all oil contracts would be settled in US dollars, which is insane. Meaning that if China wanted to buy oil, they had to go buy dollars first and then pay for that oil in dollars. If Russia wanted to buy oil, you guessed it, they had to pay in dollars. Effectively, this gave birth to what is known as the Petro dollar, which has kept dollars' dominance for decades. And it's here that our story begins. It should be no surprise the lengths at which the US government will go and has gone to protect the precious petrodollar. I mean, just look at some other leaders like Muammar Gaddafi, just to see how previous attempts to challenge the petrodollar ended up. They will go to any means necessary to protect it. Now, look, if you want to be a genocidal maniac and rule your regime with an absolute iron fist, that's no problem for the petrodollar. You just can't screw with the dominance of the petrodollar, otherwise, well, you'll be sorry. But why, Lark? Why? Well, because it's here that we find the Achilles heel of all those dollar bills. And what brings us to the main topic of today's video. You see, for the most part, the dominance of the dollar has been pretty easy, for the US to come in and swiftly do away with anyone who opposes this pretty unfair and crappy trade agreement that has been put in place. This is an agreement which forces foreign governments to have to buy a foreign government's money in order to buy oil instead of just using their own native currencies to purchase natural resources. This has inflated, relatively artificially, the dollar for a very long time, until now. And look, it's no big secret that the Russian and the Chinese governments have sought to end the dominance of the dollar for quite some time now. But the newest member to join them in that quest, and possibly the most influential of them all, has begun to tip the scales in their favor. That's because this one man in particular controls all of the oil production and basically all of the financial power of the world's oil superpower, Saudi Arabia. With a family net worth estimated at $1.4 trillion, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia has 16 times the economic power of the British royal family, a power that he has not failed to use since coming into power. He has been playing his own kind of real-life version of the Game of Thrones. Do. Kind of not quite so fun for the people on the other end of it, though. He has become the most feared and powerful member of the Saudi family. Anyway, while playing this game, he has been able to acquire approximately an extra $800 billion in funds that were, let's just say, reappropriated from other rich Saudi families and oligarchs and stuff like that and moved over. But local power consolidation was just the beginning for the Crown Prince. he set his sights much higher. So the prince has joined recently with Putin and Xi and their agenda to bring down the petrodollar. Recently, he announced his intent to begin accepting Chinese yuan instead of dollars for oil when selling oil to China, which is game-changing beyond belief. This move basically has seen the kingdom begin the process of de-dollarizing the world. Now, before I get into the implications of this ground-moving move and how Russia and China fit into all of this in a wider sense, I want to break the flow just real quick to let you know about Wealth Mastery. This is my weekly cryptocurrency investor report. In this report, we talk about opportunities on how you can make money in the cryptocurrency markets, NFTs, altcoins, DeFi, crypto education, and much, much more. You can sign up for free using the link down below in the description. Okay, back to it. Now, if you take into consideration that China alone purchases around 25% of all of Saudi Arabia's oil exports, that one thing in of itself means that almost overnight, the switch to yuan would cause the petrodollar to lose a freaking quarter of its financial power in regards to the Saudi oil market, which is obviously a massive and influential part of the oil market. Other OPEC members like Abu Dhabi's Crown Prince bin Zayed has announced new trade agreements with China as well. Maybe we'll see them moving in a similar direction. We also have the Gulf Cooperation Council, which has been active on this front. The Chinese Premier Xi Jinping and the Chinese government has strategically strengthened its ties with neighboring Arab nations, who of course are all oil rich. Well, China and Saudi Arabia have done all of this, through favor swapping and backroom deals and all this kind of stuff. Now it's time to talk about the Russians, because Putin and the Russian government, they've been using a little bit of a more brazen approach to this entire thing, basically demanding that all imports from unfriendly countries now have to be paid for in Russian rubles. Now, given that the US sanctions currently in place for Russia, and it's almost $300 billion in Forex assets that have been frozen by the Western nations, this has become a very big deal. See, purchasing oil with rubles really became one of the only ways that Russia could protect its financial interests from the Western sanctions regime. Last March, this culminated in Putin basically taking to the world stage to announce that the United States and the European Union had overstepped themselves in their sanctions response to what's happening in Ukraine, and that the US dollar was no longer to be a trusted asset. To an extent, this was the shot heard around the financial world for countries like China. It's a message that will have resonated in the halls of power in Beijing and in Riyadh and other places, because they know they are one misstep away from having hundreds of billions, even trillions of dollars of their country's money stolen by Western banking institutions. In order to maintain Russia as a global leader in natural resources, Putin has begun basically sticking it to, Western powers by offering Russian crude oil to any buyers not in the West at an incredible discount. So we see countries like India, who previously remained relatively neutral in this whole thing, jumping at the opportunity to snatch up some cheap damn oil and increase their profit margins. We even see Saudi Arabia importing Russian oil and selling more expensive oil to Europe. The previous descent from Russian crude after sanctions were announced has actually now come back to bite Western powers in the butt. Even multinational oil conglomerates like Shell couldn't end up resisting such a good deal on this sweet, sweet money-making opportunity for cheap Russian oil. And recently, the Speaker of the lower Russian House of Parliament, Vyacheslav Volodin, suggested in a Telegram poll that Russia is going to seek to expand the list of commodities for which it demands to be paid in rubles when coming from, primarily Western countries, the unfriendly countries, right? That includes grain, oil, metals, and more. It's a big damn deal because Russia is one of the world's biggest commodity providers. Shortly after this announcement, Russia halted all gas exports through the Yamal European pipeline. They are playing a very, very serious game right now. And that's not all, because before this happened, Russia and China also were actually selling off their US Treasuries positions anyway, and they have been buying up gold for the last few years, basically as much as they can get their hands on. Because gold, for these big governments, is really the only asset that they believe they can trust, in light especially of the USA seizing and freezing $300 billion in Forex from Russian government accounts. The only thing that provided the US dollar its premier global dominance was its ability to strong-arm Saudi Arabia into selling their oil for dollars. But with the petrodollar deal starting to change, and of course all these recent sanctions and stuff leaving a bad taste in the mouth of some of the other global powers, the days of the petrodollar's dominance are waning, and with it, the dollar will forever lose its financial status over global markets and as a reserve currency. And look, you do not have to like what is happening, everything that I've explained here. You do not have to like the people who are doing it. But it's the truth of what's happening. The world is changing. The world order is changing. The future of the dollar is looking less and less favorable as many countries want to escape the shackles of the dollar-based financial system. Its days are numbered. And while we'll see end up, the rise of a BRICS currency, it's probably just going to be new boss, same as the old boss in terms of the BRICS global reserve currency. But it's also the perfect time for Bitcoin. Of course, we had to talk about Bitcoin at the end of this video. I wholeheartedly believe that in the face of this unprecedented financial upheaval, that holding Bitcoin, great call, great decision. I'm gonna keep stacking sats while watching the dollar slowly fade away into irrelevance. Anyway, just my 2 Satoshis. What do you think about all this? Do you agree? Are these powers collaborating going to end up killing the dollar and destroying the petrodollar's dominance on the world? Or will these efforts, like all their efforts before, end up failing? Let me know down below in the comments section. Thanks so much for watching today's video, and peace out till next time.